Welcome back to Apple Tree Teachings. I usually like to do my lectures, my teachings in a private area, but I said, why not? Let me just do it while I'm stuck in traffic. Well, today's lesson, I want to talk about the gifts that you receive on birth. Most people on the planet that have passed away, that are living today, and that will live tomorrow, will bypass what I call gifts. And if you don't want to discover it, you will never discover it. You will live and die not understanding what's becoming of you. But let's date back to the time that you were conceived. At the time of conception, it's not what mom thinks that begins the journey of how you are unfolding as a person and a personality. Mom can eat all the fruits and vegetables she wants, and that's great for health. But what's more important is how mom feels with all the relationships that she's had and she currently has. Her relationship with her partner, her husband, her relationship with her mom and dad, her relationship with her in-laws, her relationship with her brother and sister, her relationship, if she works, her relationship with her co-workers, her peers, her employer. These are all relationships. And while you are in mom's stomach for just say 9 months, all these relationships take a factor in how you are developing. Now, you've got to think back that when you, from birth till say your age, however old you are right now, you receive gifts. Well, most people receive gifts, physical gifts, and for your birthdays, for your special holidays and anniversaries. Now, not all gifts you receive you're going to like. If you keep receiving socks, you're not going to like another pair of socks. If you keep receiving a toaster or pots and pans or candles or a particular gift card that you have no interest in, you're not going to like it. So what do you do with gifts that you don't like? Well, you can return it and see if you can exchange it to get something that you do like, or you just get rid of it, throw it away. In most cases, you don't even tell anyone about what you've done except the people in your household, or well, you understand what I mean. Now, those are the physical gifts that you receive. But there are other gifts that you do receive throughout your life that you're not even looking at from the point of view that it is a gift. But when you're in mom's stomach, you're starting to grow. When mom is in an argument or a disagreement with your father or partner, when she feels the emotion of anger, who else would feel the emotion of anger? That would be you. You are in your mom's stomach. Whatever mom feels, you feel. And just to clear that up, to see where we're going with this conversation, is if there were two people in front of you who do not speak your language, so you don't understand their language, but they're arguing, you don't know what they're saying. However, you feel something is wrong. And that you clearly understand. Now, when you feel something is wrong, love is not entering you, love is being removed from you. Does that make sense? Now let's go back. You're back in mom's stomach. So mom is arguing with dad, or dad is arguing with mom. Mom feels the emotion of anger, so you would feel the emotion of anger. When mom has to cook and clean all the time and dad hardly participates, if he hardly participates, she feels disrespected. Now, if mom feels disrespected, if she feels the emotion of disrespect, who else would actually feel it? That's right. You would feel it because you're in mom's stomach. You feel what mom feels. But you don't understand mom's language. You haven't developed that yet. But you can feel what she's feeling because you're a human being. Now, when say dad sits on the toilet 365 days a year, who normally cleans it? Well, usually mom always cleans it, right? Am I wrong? Okay, that's not all the cases, but just go with what I'm saying so you can get the point. If mom constantly cleans the toilet, she feels unworthy because her husband or partner is making her feel unworthy. If she feels the emotion of unworthiness, who else feels the emotion of unworthiness? That's right. It's you. It's me. We feel the emotion of unworthiness. We are in our mother's stomach. Mom also feels fear because she doesn't know if the baby, which is us, you, are going to have a medical condition. She doesn't know if you're going to be blind. She doesn't know if you're going to come out with one arm. She feels a lot of fear. So she wants you to come out perfect. Now, if she feels the emotion of fear, who else would feel fear? That's right. Common sense? You would feel it just like I would feel it. Now, there are other emotions like jealousy, anxiety, and the list goes on. So, for the 9 months, mom can rub the stomach all she wants. She can eat all the carrots and vegetables she wants. But at the end of the day, it's what one feels that begins the child's journey to how that child starts to develop mentally, psychologically, emotionally. So for the 9 months, when most parents don't even understand that when the condition of mom and dad, how they feel, how they communicate, and how the wife communicates with her parents and her in-laws and her friends and her co-workers and her boss and her neighbors, all those conditions are going into the child. Does mom and dad know that they are doing this to their child? No. No. The majority of human beings that have lived, that are living, and that will live, they don't understand that those are gifts that they're giving their child. Gifts. Remember I told you about gifts? Not all gifts you're going to like. The problem is these are emotional gifts. These emotional gifts are rarely discovered. And what happens is that you take those gifts and you harness it and you suppress it, and it's like a backpack for the rest of your living life. Well, let me go on with this. Now you're born. Welcome to Earth. Excuse me. Here are your first gifts: fear, anger, lack of worth, disrespect, anxiety, jealousy. Did I say lack of worth? You didn't ask for these gifts. You didn't ask for these emotions. However, you have it. You don't understand your parents' language when you're born. You're just a baby, you're an infant. But you can feel something unloving when you feel it. Usually what happens when mom and dad, the baby's born, you put the powder, you rub the stomach with maybe jasmine oil, and you bathe the child, put powder on, and put on nice clothes and booties, and you make them all cozy, and you go coochie coochie coo, and you feel that this is love. The problem is the child has just spent 9 months with love not entering the child, but love is being removed from the child because the child has witnessed for 9 months the unlovingness that the parents are giving them. Now that child is born, what usually happens? Mom is stressed. Mom is waking up 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. She can't sleep. Most fathers, I'm not saying all fathers, most fathers do not participate well in this part of a child's life. Most fathers stay sleeping or hardly participate. Mom just came off 9 months of pregnancy, and she's still taking care of the child 24 hours a day. She's still cooking, she's still cleaning. You know what? She's stressed. But at the very same time, what's happening? The child starts to see and witness its environment. A child can only reflect and regurgitate the environment they are given. And if mom and dad continues to bicker in the child's environment, the child can reflect this and regurgitate this. When the child witnessed the mom and dad bickering, the child does not know the parents' language. But understand, the child can feel something is wrong. And you have to know, as a parent, you are damaging the child. When the child feels something is wrong, love is not entering the child, love is being removed from the child. And that's a major, major concern. As a parent, this is what has happened to you. And you've never been able to diagnose, to understand this. But a lot of times when a child is put into the crib or into their room, the child could hear mom and dad, if they're probably upstairs or downstairs, or even if the child is 1, 2, 3 years old. A lot of times they're in the room and mom and dad are upstairs or downstairs, and they still hear the bickering. They just don't understand the gist of what's happening. They do know that they're arguing, but love is not entering the child. Love is still being removed from the child. And the child does not know if dad is going to hit mom or mom and dad are going to get a divorce. The child doesn't know that. But fear and worriedness enters the child. Now, those things are not loving in nature at all. The mere fact, the mere word itself tells us that it's not loving. So love is not entering the child. Love is being removed from the child. And this is something you clearly have to understand. As a parent, you have to understand what you're doing to the child. Just turn around here. It's busy in this area. Okay, where was I? So you have to really understand that the child is absorbing your environment as a parent. As the child gets older, the unlovingness continues because the child starts to exercise its own will. Remember, when a child is very young, say 1 to 10 years old, the parents become dictators. They tell them what to do, when to do it, how to do it, what to wear, when to wake up, when to go to sleep, how much to eat, when to watch TV, and all these restrictions, and the child does not have a fair opportunity to exercise its will to make decisions that are practical and loving for themselves. The parent control them to a T. I guess you understand what I mean by that. So when the child does start to exercise its will, they're usually around 10, 11, 12 years old, they start pushing back. Because now they have enough sense in their head that they want things, they want to do things, they want to feel a certain way. And when they don't feel that way, they start to push back. And the parents start to feel that friction. In most cases, mom usually feels that friction with the kids, because mom tends to spend a lot more time with the children, with their education, with their feedings, their bedtimes, and mom just wants the kids to respond in a loving way. But when the child has witnessed for the past 10, 12 years mom and dad bickering, and bickering, unlovingness gets into the child. The parents are teaching the children that love is not possible. Now, you could put clothes on on your child, you could feed your child, you could take your child to the movies, and you could take your child on a trip. That's not love. That's only material things. And you have to get that understanding very, very clear. You could say you love your child, but if mom and dad do not show the loving interaction with each other, if the child does not see, hey, dad is cooking, and that feels good. Oh, dad is doing the toilets today, and mom is relaxing, and when the mom is doing the toilets and dad is relaxing. If the child does not see the lovingness, the cooperation between mom and dad, how is love supposed to enter the child? The child can only reflect the environment you give them. And if you're not giving them the right environment, the child can only copy. There's nothing wrong with the child's hardware or your hardware. There's a problem with the software. It's the software. You're programming the child to be like you, dysfunctional and aggravated, not happy in the relationship. You program the child to think that this is a normal life. But this is the life that you copied from your parents. Now your child is copying you. Someone has to break that cycle. The other thing is that you have to look at is that by the time the child gets to, say, the dating scene, this is kind of young, but this is what's happening. Kids are dating in high school. Now, what does a child know in high school? They barely know how to cook. They don't have responsibilities. They barely respect their mother by helping with the laundry and sweeping and vacuuming. They have to be told all these things. So why are people dating? They're dating because they feel that there's something missing in their life, and the other person could fulfill that feeling. When you take a look at people in high school, they date for 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 weeks, 5 months. If you were never raised on love, and no one is born with love, I'll have to do a show on that one, but no one is born with love. You have to put love inside yourself. Your parents cannot give you something you don't have. Remember, I said that your parents could feed you, they could put clothes on you, they could take you to the movies, they could take you on a trip. That's not love, that's material things. Okay, I've said that already. But if you were not born for the 9 months, if you weren't conceived with love, and you kept mom and dad kept bickering throughout your childhood, love is not entering you. Love is being removed from you. You haven't discovered that you were not born with love, and you still haven't discovered that you have to put love inside yourself. If love is not inside yourself, in the absence of love is unlovingness. So who are you dating? What are you dating? If love is not inside you, what are you trying to find? You will only find someone to reflect your condition. Now, there's only 3 parts to a human being. There's your real self, which no one really gets to, and I'll elaborate on that in a little while. There's your facade self, like your fake self, the self that constantly lies all the time. And then there is your hurt self. You have to understand that you've got to see this picture in your head. If you are hurt, hold on one second, let me just get out of this traffic. If you are hurt and you meet up someone that obviously wasn't born with love and they are hurt themselves, a hurt person meeting a hurt person, how could you find love? It's impossible. If you have a facade, which you do, and you don't exercise the wanting to put love inside yourself, so now you're living your life in your facade. Hold on one second. And you meet someone who's living their life in their facade, how can you have love? It's impossible. Look at people around you. 99% of people are not in love with each other. They teach themselves to stay together. They make up all these excuses. Men are like this, women are like that. But those excuses are not loving in nature. Love cannot produce unlovingness. It's impossible. Love is love. If you feel unloved, then it's impossible to be loved. Sounds like common sense? People don't practice that. Okay, I'll say it again. Love cannot produce unlovingness, cannot produce unloving events. You have to know that for certain. If you're dating someone, if you're texting someone and they are not responding, you feel something. If that's something you feel is not loving, that feeling, I wonder why he's not responding or she's not responding, that's not a loving feeling. Love cannot produce that feeling. Love can only produce a loving feeling. That's why they call it love. Most people abuse the word because they don't understand it. They abuse it. So now you started the dating scene and love is not inside you. If love is not inside you, what are you dating through? You're dating through your addictions. So you can only go in and out of relationships. 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 weeks, 5 months. As soon as excuse me. As soon as your addictions are no longer met, hasta la vista. You're gone. That person's gone from your life. Next. You've got to understand that this pattern will continue to the point where you give in. And when you give in, you start to relax on the things that you want in your life. You just relax on it. And excuse me. And eventually you'll put a ring on your finger, not realizing you've just spent a good quarter of your life living with the emotions you were born with, not realizing the lousy gifts, and you never wanted to work on yourself to get rid of the lousy gifts. All you did was put it in your backpack and you carried it throughout your whole life. I'll give you an example. If you're arguing with someone, just say your partner, your boyfriend or your girlfriend, if you're arguing with someone, that's not loving, is it? See, love can't produce that. But you have to know that the person that's making you angry, it's impossible that that person is making you angry. It's impossible. I'll tell you why. When you were in your mother's stomach for 9 months, you were conceived, and your mother felt the emotion of anger because she was arguing with her husband, which is your father. When she felt the emotion of anger, anger was deposited into you as a child. You didn't know that. Your parents can't tell you something they don't know. Your parents can't give you something they don't have. So when that emotion was deposited in you, now you have a relationship with someone and you're angry with that person. That person cannot make you, did not put anger inside of you. All they did was activate what was already given to you from birth. It's not, they did not make you angry. If you had worked on yourself to get the emotion of anger out of you, and yes, you can do that. It's an option, it's a choice. Then you can have the same discussion with that person and you would not feel anger. You can disagree and you can move on, but you will not feel angry because anger doesn't exist inside of you anymore because you've worked on that emotion. Does that make sense? This is a very broad, long topic, and I can literally go on and on. I'm almost at my destination, so I'll try to wrap it up. Now, if you can clearly understand that you were born with emotions that are unloving. Now, some of you say, you know what, I've had loving parents. Well, look at your personal life. Are you totally happy? Do you get stressed and frustrated at your job? Do you get stressed and frustrated at your brothers and sisters? Or do you ever get mad at your spouse or your partner? I mean, think about it. If your parents had love inside of them, then they would have love to give you, and you would clearly understand this point. Most parents keep calling the parents, they keep calling their children over and over, and because they want help. So I'll give you an example. Paul, Dad needs help. Or Paul, Mary, Mom needs help. And they would say coming, but they don't come. In other words, they're not acknowledging the parents. And what normally happens is that the parents get really upset at their kids. And they verbally abuse them. They shout at them. Or some children get slapped or beaten because they didn't acknowledge their parents in time. However, a child can never make a mistake. It's impossible. They can only reflect and regurgitate the environment you give them. You as a parent give them. Nothing wrong with the hardware. Something wrong with the software. The parents are programming the software. And the parents don't even understand it. You have to know if the child is not responding, then the child would have had to learn that behavior. It's alert behavior. Does that make sense? So, if mom and dad are bickering with each other, and the child observes that mom and dad are not acknowledging each other, either one is not acknowledging the other, or both of them are not acknowledging, the child is observing that they're not acknowledging. So when the child regurgitates that environment in front of the parents, the child gets punished. But it's not the child's fault. The child can only reflect what you are giving them. That's how you learn. How many times does a child get shouted at because they're grabbing a toy from their brother or sister, or they're grabbing it from someone else? Mom and dad said, "Stop grabbing." The child gets verbally abused, but the child doesn't understand what you mean in that first interaction because they get yelled at. But a child can't make a mistake. It can only reflect the environment. So when mom and dad grabs their keys, grabs their wallet and their purse, and grabs a pot from the cupboard, and they're using the action of grabbing, when the child uses a different object and produces the same results that grabbing results, all of a sudden now the child is at fault. But you're creating the software in the child. Don't yell at your children. Don't hit them. Don't scream at them. Don't want to do anything wrong. If your child seems to be stubborn, well then the child would have had to learn what stubbornness is. Mom and dad are stubborn with each other, the child learns it. The child raises their voice. Well, Does mom and dad or grandparents or people in the house constantly raise their voice? You've got to understand, whatever you see wrong in your child, you have to know for certain the child copied the environment you gave them. You can automatically say, or it's their friends, but you are giving the environment to your child. The child's friends are in your environment. So how can you get mad at the child? You have to educate the child from birth to give the child something that you have. But if you don't have an understanding, how can you give your child an understanding? Now, let's go back to the acknowledgement. If your child is not acknowledging you, then you have to think, why is my child not acknowledging me? If you go back to the first 7 years of your life, you would realize something very, very interesting. Your mom or dad, or mom and dad, or grandparents, never acknowledged you as a parent. So if they never acknowledged you, all you are is born not knowing you don't have acknowledgement inside you, because your parents, which is the child's grandparents, cannot give you something they don't have. If the grandparents don't have acknowledgement inside of them, how could they give you that? If you as a child grow up and not knowing what's wrong with you, not knowing you don't have any acknowledgement inside of you because your parents didn't give it to you and you weren't aware that there was a problem, you will have a family, you will disregard your children, you will get mad at your children because you don't have acknowledgement inside you to give your children. You have to fix that problem. You have to fix the cycle, because whatever year you are in right now, for all these hundreds and thousands of years that your bloodline exists, no one in your bloodline has discovered the cycle. You have to be the first one to discover that cycle. Otherwise, it's going to continue. You're going to give really poor gifts, really bad gifts to your children. And your children are going to have to discover it. But most people live and die and not discover these unloving gifts are sitting in them, and they carry it like a backpack. But I'm going to leave you with that. I may continue this at a later time. But I hope you enjoyed this series. Apple Tree Teachings. Please subscribe and wait for the next video. I'd love for you to respond to me and let me know what you'd like to hear. But I get a lot of requests from people asking me to do so many videos, and you know what? Everything takes time. But at the very same time, I'm happy to share these things so you could change your life. Now, I was talking one-sided about how women feel, but there are a lot of good men out there, and they do try hard. And there are a lot of women out there that are disturbed also. But at the same time, whoever you are, male or female, you have to want to work on yourself. You know what? I'll do the next video on how to work on yourself and how to put love in yourself. What does it mean to love yourself? I'll do a video on that. But anyways, thank you for listening, and subscribe. And when you subscribe, you'll get the next video as soon as I create it. Anyways, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon.